Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Hoang Minh, and I think probably I'm the least popular guest speakers among the three that you see here today. So that's why let me just introduce myself again. My name is Minh. I have been teaching English for almost 15 years. I started my education career when I first entered university. Right. And so we will try to explore the different identities, professional identities that I've adopted across my career. But let's just start with the first one. Originally, I am an English teacher. So let's start with a vocabulary lesson. Okay? Do you know this website? Yes. Do you use it? Yes. What is the name of it? Very good. So the first piece of information about myself, I graduated from Cambridge University. Well, what is the word? What is the word on the screen? Impressive. Right. Do you use this word a lot in your life? Yes. No. Or not yet. Right. Okay. And have you ever tried to be impressive? Do you do it like almost every day? Right. Okay. So thank you, the crowd. You have a lot of energy up until now. Very good. So let me just read the definition as one way to frame the speech. So impressive. So if an object or achievement is impressive, you admire or respect it. Or if someone is impressive, you admire or respect that person for the special skills or abilities. And the speech today is about impressiveness, but not in a very good way. We'll be talking about the trap of impressiveness. So do you think that being impressive is good or bad? Neutral. Interesting. So someone says neutral. And someone shouted good, which is great. It can be both. Okay. So we'll try to add a little bit of criticality into the issue today. Okay. So we don't just talk about the good things of being impressive, but maybe we can also explore the dark side of being impressive as well. So, and we have a subtitle down here, from performance to presence, and we're trying to explore a little bit of that towards the end of the speech. So let's talk a little bit about success and being impressive. So throughout my career, I have always wondered why. Why do people have to try so hard to be impressive? We try to be impressive, not successful, not competent, or not meaningful. So being impressive and being successful, competent, or meaningful can be very different things. Success can be quiet. Competence can be something private, something that only you know. And meaning can be personalized. Meaning can be deeply personal. However, being impressive requires an external factor. It needs to have an audience. So once we thrive to be impressive, we want to be seen. We want to be recognized. We want to explain things in a way that attract responses like, wow, that sounds impressive. But they're very different things. These are actually very different things. And as someone who grows up in an education environment, my mom was also a teacher. And then I grow up with my mom being a teacher in the system, and then I also experienced the system as well. And now that I grow up, I decided to become a teacher as well. So I'm also inside the loop one more time. So, in Vietnam, education has a lot to do with impressiveness. Do you agree? Yes. Who do you respect? Do you respect someone who get a 10? Yes. You respect someone who won first prize in the national contest for the gifted. Yes, we do. So when we grow up with education around it, it's just all about, you have to try to be impressive. So I myself also experienced that very deeply across my career. So let me just tell you a little bit about the path of external growth of myself. So this is me among my Cambridge fellows. So we went to the same school, Cambridge Church Business School, where I took my third master's degree. This is me with the University of Nottingham, where I got my second master's degree in English, and it has a lot to do with literature as well. Me and my mom, so I put her there because it seems like there's a theme for TED speakers. We address family members. So fortunately, I got my mom up there. So that was when I graduated from my first master's degree. And fortunately, I was the only one who graduated with distinction for that particular cohort. And that was me. 2015, graduated with distinction from RMIT University. So I burned the midnight oil, sleepless nights, devoted to my education journey, so that hopefully, with the effort I put into my education, I got a career. And fortunately, I also get a career. And besides being an English teacher, I also train teachers as well. I also do educational leadership. I work with big brands, represent them when in collaboration with people from the government, all kind of aspects when it comes to education. So I've got involved. So at this stage, I would not say I have a very impressive career, but on average, I would not be among the bottom. So you can see that I tried with both my studies and also with my careers as well. However, there are many times in which I don't experience deep satisfaction. And there are moments when I actually experience discomfort. I tried, and I think with the definition of impressiveness that I put up in the beginning, many of the things that I've attempted and successfully done in the past can be, in a way, listed in the impressive category. However, a lot of the times, I don't always feel settled. Because there is something called the loop of achievement. Sometimes one achievement simply, they don't just bring in gratification. We don't feel good. We feel more pressure. I graduated from Cambridge. It puts a lot of pressure for my next school. It must be something of the same quality. So I got successful classes. I keep thinking about how I can scale. How can I have a larger school? How can I accommodate more students? So I can get one responsibility, one job opportunity. I keep thinking about what's next. So I don't feel content with myself, even when I achieve something, by definition, impressive. So, and I don't think that that is an issue of only myself. And I think young people, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, I can see a lot of very young people in the hall today. You experience it much earlier in your life. So you have to keep thinking about how to get good grades, yeah? Yeah. Okay, you raise your hand. Okay, very good. How can you get a result that satisfied your parents? And then when you grow up a little bit more, you keep thinking about, okay, how to enter a university that can help you gain respect from your friends. And then you keep thinking about, okay, how to get a good internship, how you can get a job, or how you don't fall for unemployment upon graduation. And then how to have a good profile. What would be the things that you should have to post on social media? So many people would call it ambition, but maybe the root cause for these thoughts can be insecurity. Do you guys experience insecurity? FOMO. Is it a big yes? Yes, it's a big yes. Right. So insecurity can be something that we always think about it. And I also want to talk about the next concept, which is the edited life. So many of us nowadays spend half of our life online. Is that correct? Yes, okay. We spend half of our life online, or even more for the digital natives, Generation Z. You are deemed the digital natives. You're born with the internet, and you spend the majority of your time online. So the question that you ask yourself would not be, am I happy? But you would ask yourself, do I look good enough to post this online? You would ask yourself questions like, what kind of emotion should I display when I post things online? Maybe inside you don't feel that good, but there must be a smile in the picture, and there must be something that invites respect from the audience. So we constantly edit our life so that we can seek validation. Not just me, and I think many people that I meet every year, I meet around thousands of young people, and I can also feel the exact same thing. And it actually impacts their ability to adopt education. So a lot of difficulties of learning actually takes place because the young people cannot cope well with all of these kind of pressure. They have to satisfy an external factors rather than the internal need. So that is something that we might want to think very deeply about. And for the young people that I see right here as well, because I got invited here probably because of my connection with the English team from Blewiddome High School. So this speech is more like a special message that I send to the people that I already taught in the past 3 years. Because many of them would actually try to be impressive. But sometimes trying to be impressive comes at a cost of being unsettled inside. So that is also a kind of message that I want to send. And growing up, I also experienced the exact same thing. When we try to be impressive, we always thrive for something better. However, if we try to be critical about the word better, better can mean so many different things. And there are many possibilities for being better. So let me just propose the 3 ways of defining better that best suit my case and potentially that can also suit someone who seeks inner peace and happiness. So better isn't always doing something more. I'm already in Cambridge, which is top 4 in the world for several years in a row. It doesn't mean that the next step has to be Harvard. It doesn't mean that the next step will have to be Oxford. It can be just something deeper and more relevant. And sometimes it can be freer. I bound myself to education. I consider myself a degree collector. That's why I got 3 master's degrees, and potentially in the future, I want to have more. But maybe in the future, I would try to free myself from such thoughts. Maybe there will be no more education for me. I can just learn from life, not from university. Or sometimes being better can also mean you try to be honest. You try to finally admitting to yourself that the better version of yourself, the impressive version of yourself might not be exactly the version of yourself that you would like to wake up inside every day. Well, actually, I also experience the same thing when it comes to doing business. So besides being a teacher, I also run multiple educational businesses at the same time. In the past few years, I also do consultancy as well. If we look at the figured side of doing business, it's all about trying to make the business look impressive. We try to think about bigger revenue. We try to think about more reputation, more visibility. 1 million view or follower TikTok account, for example. However, as a person, as an educator who does business, there is always the education side of things. And the education side also play a major role in creating some kind of internal conflict within me. Because when it comes to doing business, it's all about, the figures, whether we meet the bottom line. But when it comes to education, it's about human. Is it possible that I can deliver a lesson that benefits my students? Is it possible for me to build a team that can accommodate individual growth of the students? The questions that are much more complex, questions that are very difficult to post about online, questions that people don't find impressive when we post about. These are human. These are grounded. These are difficult to answer and very difficult to communicate. But we always have to ask ourselves these questions. Well, I talk to you from my perspective as an entrepreneur. You guys can also try to think about yourself, maybe not as an entrepreneur, maybe as a teacher, a future teacher, maybe as a student. Whether you really like what you're doing, whether you are trying to deliver some kind of value that would be aligned with your character, with the things that you believe. So it doesn't mean that I judge or criticize those who try to be impressive, because I recognize that even for myself, there is always a need to be seen. There is always a need to be validated. There is always the need to feel enough. And when I raise this question, it doesn't mean that I'm already a master of the issue. I'm not really an expert. I come here, I put forward an idea for us to think about. Because like you, I also experience the same thing. I also struggle with finding a balance between how to try to be impressive, but also be coherent in terms of the rest, in terms of the other aspects of life. So before I end my speech, I just want to talk a little bit about growth and performance, or performing growth. When we develop, we usually attempt growth and we want to grow ourselves. However, because we talked about the aspect of being impressive, there might be something that we need to care about. That is performing growth. Growth and performing growth. So these two concepts may look very similar on the surface. So a person who genuinely grows themselves and their careers might look busy, might be ambitious, and potentially successful. And someone who tries to perform growth might also have the exact same situation. However, the difference lies in the internal processes. A person driven by growth is also driven by a clear direction. Someone who just performs growth, on the other hand, is more driven and affected greatly by pressure. So, the question, in the beginning I said, why do so many people try to be impressive? Maybe at the end, I would like to put forward another question to think about. How can we try to do things that are aligned with our value without having to impress everyone? So I hope the message I send can help you think a little bit about the process that you go through. I don't hope that it can change anyone, but maybe it can slightly alter the trajectory that you're choosing for your life and towards a happier and a more peaceful future. Thank you, everyone, and have a good life.